now, and this is your domain of expertise. This is you're doing for a long time, doing it successfully. So tips for making a good B2B video, say for instance a video case study.
Right.
Tips.
Get someone that's good looking. Well,
Really?
Really? Even though they talk rubbish.
okay, you see, sometimes you will think that, okay, let me put my CEO there, or let me put my CTO there, or let me put my marketing manager there, right? But it's just the fact that some people are not very good in front of camera, so you have to be careful about that. Even they might be good in what they're doing in marketing, in sales, or in technology, but this is about communication. So that matters in video case study. You have to get someone that's really good in communicating, right? So in talking, in expressing itself, and of course the content is there. So it should be someone that's really familiar with the context as well. So that's one thing. For the content itself, you have to understand that this is not to get someone to buy something after they watch the video, because we're talking about marketing. Otherwise, it will be the job of salespeople, right? So what you want to put there is you want to put a context, you want to put a bigger perspective. It's not only about buying, right? So it's about thought leadership. So this is the content you should be looking at when you're creating a video case study. Then again, as I mentioned before, these are people, these are human. So it has to be informative, because it's the first reason they look for your video, they look for your contents. But it has to have some, should I say, entertainment. It has to be something that's pleasing to see, something that you like to watch, something you like to hear. So it can't be boring. If you just put a talking head or someone just talking in front of camera for 10 minutes, I don't think it will fly. So you need something that's pleasing them there. Yeah.
So how about producing one? So if there is something like a workflow, they need to a producer need to keep it in mind that don't do this, like traps to avoid.
Traps to avoid. I would say don't put your own people in the video. It's just as a matter that I mentioned before, that it's not really, don't try to oversell. So it's better if you can, how should I put it? You can get testimonial from the people around you. It's better if you can get testimonial from your client, someone that may be using your service before, and get them to talk good about you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Simply because if a third party tells me about you, I will trust the third party more than if you tell me about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing.
Okay.
Another trap is, as you said, video. Just a short video can actually have a lot to say. You can put a lot of content in just 2-3 minutes. So don't keep it too long. That's one thing. The good thing about video, or maybe should I say the best practice for video case study, in first few seconds you have to get attention. That's one thing, and then you have to try to lead. The thought leadership. Try to buy the thought for the next few minutes. If you take it too long, then it's going to be too boring, and people just lost connection with you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Now the golden question. So how do you measure the effectiveness of B2B content? So you produce you put all this effort and then come up with something. How do you know it's working, basically?
Well, I think there are some informal ways, some very formal and measurable, very defined ways of doing that. If you produce a white paper, for instance, or an ebook, an informal way is looking at how many downloads it has. I mean, it's the more downloads it gets, you track it over time, you see how popular or unpopular it gets. But those are some of what you call soft metrics, because you're getting numbers, but it doesn't really say if people have read it and so on. So then we can look at if people have reverted with after they've read about it. So if they looked at the content, they have engaged with that content, then that is a good way of measuring the effectiveness of your content. So if they've commented or they have written back to you, even if it's an email, I liked your stuff, can we have a discussion? These are some of the ways you can, again, still not very defined yet. But these days they have got things like like scoring metrics. Now scoring is really a very formal way of gauging the effectiveness of your B2B content, because whatever you've posted on your site, whatever you have distributed, disseminated from your using whatever channels, you can put a score to its engagement, which means if people have downloaded, if people have commented, if people have remarked about it anywhere, that kind of engagement gets a metric, gets a number. And then that number is tracked over time. And that helps you get a clear idea of what content is working, what content engages people, what content gets people to talk back, what content gets people to buy your things eventually. So if you're having a lead scoring or an asset scoring mechanism, which can be part of an overall lead nurturing mechanism, of course, then what you're looking at is establishing benchmarks, establishing goals, so that if you produce something, say you've invested quite a bit in writing an ebook, and there's a lot of research that goes into, a lot of work that goes into it. We say you want to say within 3 months, if I don't achieve this score, and this score can be a composite score, it can be a mix of downloads, it can be a mix of comments, it can be a mix of different ways of engagement. If it doesn't hit that, then should I release an update? Should I look into it? Should I make it more current? Is it perhaps something that's not working quite right? So that way, you get a very tangible way of measuring your content, and you get a valid reason to update. So if you've gotten people to help you out in your research, then it's very difficult to go back and saying, hey, I don't think it's working. I don't think it's difficult to justify, but here are the figures. You can see that it's not quite getting the results we want. So let's look into how we can improve it. So these are some of the things we can look at. These are some of the quick metrics I can think of. Obviously, the more your content spreads, it's a good sign. But then spreading these days is easy. So you really want to tie it back to the amount of business it gets you. Then that's where lead scoring can help. So that's what I would say.
So Santo, I'll go into another question to you. So I'll say that in the rise of social media, right? What is the place for content? Like, what is the correlation between content, B2B content, and social media?
Okay, so first of all, social media itself is a new place to put your content, right? So you can leverage this. So you can, in the past, if you just put it on, you put your white paper on your website or something like that. Social media is another tool that, as you say, to spread the word, right? So besides being the content, social media itself can create a context for your content. So you can get something out from the social media and try to see how you fit to that. So it's a context rather than just a place for content.
Right. Ashok, please go.
I think social media is a great way to understand that it's ultimately customers who decide what content is important. So customers as in customers of your content, consumers of your content. So the key to that is really making sure your content is easily disseminated. So leverage all these channels. So whenever you write something, use all these channels to propagate it. But then also use the input from there, the feedback, the conversations from there, to kind of what I would say, re-energize your content. So whatever content you've done will become dead over time if it's not updated, if it's not kept fresh. And a great way of keeping your content fresh is to use social media. So I very briefly spoke about a Twitter chat session that we have every week, which is B2B chat. Now, I wasn't a very active participant in it, but until about a month back. But then what you do realize that participating in it, you do get some lot of fresh ideas. It might really not be fresh as in revolutionary ideas, but it's just a new way of thinking. People are sharing experiences, and when it comes to a Twitter chat, people are very honest. People are willing to share their experiences very freely without thinking about what their customers or what their competitors are going to glean from that. So use that social media to keep your content fresh, to make sure it's always fresh with ideas, and at the same time, whatever content, make sure you produce content that is easily disseminated by social media. So make sure that if you have, for example, I'm going back to an ebook, you can actually have a small little bit that says, tweet about this book in these ways, and you can have easily tweetable phrases or you even can even pre-create bit.ly links so you don't get people to painstakingly do that, and make all those linkable, so when they just click on it, they can tweet about it, and they're saying something, not just, hey, I like this book, but they're saying, I read something interesting, and that's this, and I found this in this ebook. So that way you leverage that viral nature of social media to spread your content.
Yeah.
So I think it is a two-way process. Social media can leverage on the content you produce, and content that you produce must leverage on social media as well. So it's really a no-brainer in that sense.
Great.
So in short, make it social media friendly.
That's another variation I would like to ask. So this is what you talked about, that how social media is helping the content to propagate and get feedback from the content. Now, how social media can get benefit out of content, like your social media marketing ventures, how that can use content. Right.
Yeah. So I think, well, if you generally look at the trend, or generally look at the content that comes out of social media, people, there is actually very little original content that comes out through social media, because people, it takes time to produce fresh content and talk about it at the same time. So you can help that by making sure that whatever you write is easily spreadable. So if you're talking about content that you help write, so instead of just locking up all that behind a PDF, right, you definitely have that as part of a post. You keep what's the word? You keep milking the content you produce to repurpose that into more social media friendly content. So even if you're doing a video, again, people need to spend some time talking about it. There are ways you can annotate video. So there are ways you can pick up small bits of that. So you can say that in this video I read about this. It can just be a quotable quote. Again, litter all your stuff with quotable quotes, and then point exactly to that area in the video, or that page in the ebook, and then have that spread faster. So I think there is a dearth of content that appears in social media, and we can help that by making sure that whatever good content we produce finds its way through all the different channels we're looking at. And the other thing is, again, not just doing it once, is to, people don't read their Twitter feeds every day. Not everyone does. So make sure you just keep tweeting about retweeting it and multiplying it, and get others to talk about it. And then even writing in a different way. It doesn't have to be the same tweet over and over again. So I think these are some of the ways.
Cool.